Welcome everyone to Middlesex County Council. Today is Tuesday, March the 24th, 2026. Seeing none then, I'm going to ask that Councillor McMillan provide a land acknowledgement.
In 1793, Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe camped at the forks of the Thames River, an area occupied by Indigenous people for thousands of years. And it was here that Simcoe proposed the site as a candidate for the capital of Upper Canada. Canada itself is now on a journey of reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. It is a needed journey to address a long history of colonialism and the scars it created. Today, we respectfully acknowledge that the Council of the County of Middlesex meets on the traditional territories of three vibrant and distinct First Nations who continue to call this area home. These nations, the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, who are Anishinaabe, the Oneida Nation of the Thames, who are Haudenosaunee, and the Munsee Delaware Nation, who are Luwanipiak. A long-standing relationship with the land, water, and resources in the place we now recognize as Middlesex County. This county is home to several treaties that have shaped the region's history and governance. These treaties, such as Treaty 2, the McKee Purchase, Treaty 3, Between the Lakes Purchase, Treaty 6, London Township Purchase, Treaty 21, the Longwoods Purchase, and Treaty number 29, the Huron Tract Purchase, often resulted in the loss of traditional lands for Indigenous communities, leading to significant cultural and social changes. Today, there is a focus on acknowledging the historical injustices faced by all Indigenous people in Middlesex County, emphasizing the importance of building respectful relationships with their communities and recognizing the vital role these communities have played in the cultural landscape of the county.
Thank you. You've had a chance to look at the agenda. Could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented? Moved by Councillor Grantham, seconded by Councillor DeVete. All in favor? And that's carried. You've had a chance to read the minutes from March the 10th, 2026 council meeting. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the minutes of March the 10th, 2026 regular meeting be approved as presented, and that the recommendations made by the committee of the whole as set out in the minutes of March the 10th, 2026 be adopted. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Councillor Smyber. All in favor? And that's carried. Next item up is new business. And at this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Adam Bennett, our Director of Paramedic Services, to speak to the implementation of the medical priority dispatch system.
Thank you, Warden, and through you to Council. This is a report that we're really happy to be able to bring to Council. MPDS represents a really important evolution in how ambulances are dispatched within Ontario. For a long time, Council has been a strong advocate of municipal involvement in dispatch, and MPDS will be able to help accomplish a lot of what Council sought to make or bring to fruition through those discussions. Right now, London CAC Centre is responsible for multiple paramedic services within Southwestern Ontario. It was originally, so the London CAC Centre was originally scheduled to go live with MPDS in mid-2027. And it was through the advocacy of Middlesex County Council with the Deputy Premier and Minister of Health that we were able to have the launch date moved into October of 2026. The official launch for MPDS actually began in October of 2025, with most of the initial work being done with the dispatch centers. There's significant work with the communication centers in order to be retrained and understand how that system is working and how to build out the structure within their centers. We are now at a point where we're able to start bringing into the paramedic services and specifically within MLPS on how our deployment models and what our response plans are going to look like. We have started working with our municipal partners as well, being within police, fire, and the hospital systems. We started early on with the fire departments due to the more complex relationships that we have with the fire departments and how we would co-respond to particular calls. Those conversations have gone very well. We have the opportunities to provide enhancements to both parties when it comes through this. What we anticipate with MPDS is that we're going to see system improvements across the service as a whole. MPDS is a triaging system so that when somebody calls 911 under the current system that we have, which is called DPCI-2, it was a made in Ontario product, but it's very limited in what it the call taking information that is brought in. MPDS is used worldwide and has far more algorithms that are available for the call takers to be able to triage calls. This then allows MLPS to be able to create more complex deployment and response plans that will allow us to be able to better utilize the resources and the ambulances that we have in the community. So we'll have more ambulances available for the higher acuity calls when they come in, which would in turn mean that we would have ambulances in the communities when they need to be, rather than being pulled out to respond to other calls, which otherwise under the MPDS system now would be considered lower acuity. These changes between MPDS and DPCI-2, they're founded in clinical evidence. There's physicians in guidance and support and oversight that come along with that. The decisions to prioritize one call as a higher acuity versus a lower acuity is rooted in evidence-based medicine, and it's been extremely successful in all of the agencies that it's been launched into before, and we anticipate to see the exact same thing within MLPS. Our go live date is October, as I said, of 2026, and we're at a point right now where we're going to be rolling out our education and training packages to our paramedics and working on additional public information so that our communities are also aware of what it is that they can expect when they call 911 and what it is that this system is going to be and how it would actually benefit the community as well. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Councillor Burkhart Jessen.
Thank you, and through the warden. This is a great news story for sure, and a great report. Thank you very much, Adam. I think that there's no secret that Middlesex County has advocated for years and years with regards to dispatch. And I would say probably the work of past wardens Ropp and DeVete and their advocacy with the province got us to this point and was able to move up the date of implementation. You did reference that other communities have seen seen great benefits, and I just wondered if you could just expand a little bit, because you do reference in the report that perhaps there will be a reduction in some of the costs associated for a more effective deployment. I just wondered, do you have any idea what that might look like?
Thank you. Through the warden to Councillor Burkhart Jessen. When we're looking at the efficiencies that would come through the vehicle movements that we have within MPDS, the additional calls right now, when we're looking at the deployment of the ambulances under DPCI-2, they're limited in what they can classify that as. We see them going out either as a code 4 or a code 3. Those are the two main response priorities that they have for emergency calls. Code 4 or priority 4 requires a lights and sirens response, whereas a code 3 does not. There are many, many calls that would be classified in under the code 4 umbrella. And those ones have an opportunity under MPDS to be classified as alternatives to lights and siren responses. That allows us to make sure that the ambulances aren't moving out of the communities that they're not where they're needed the most. It reduces unnecessary vehicle movements. We end up with, so when we're talking about potential a cost benefit, we're moving our vehicles less. They're where they belong or in the right locations for when the calls come in. Paramedics are getting their breaks. They're going home on time. and the ambulances are there when the community calls 911. I think those are some major benefits that we have within the system, rather than, and I know that council has been very good when we're looking at overwhelming system pressures, when we would be receiving call after call and we have multiple calls coming in as a priority for a call. There comes a point in time where we're potentially pulling in from other municipalities as well, and the costs that are associated with vehicle increases and staffing, additional staffing that are put on strictly to respond to calls that are prioritized as a high acuity when they could potentially be reprioritized instead of being a code 4 call. Now they go into the new system where they're responded to in the appropriate time frame rather than based on a first come first served basis.
Counselor Grantham.
Thank you, Warren, and great report, Adam. This may be seen as a local question, but the comment that the dispatch will determine when and how fire services are requested, will that be more or less of a need for the fire department, or just the types of calls that they're going to?
So that is also an excellent question. We currently have tiered response agreements with all of our municipal fire partners. This is an opportunity, and I should add that we've had a very strong and positive relationship with our municipal partners for decades. This is an opportunity for us to work with our municipal partners to review what we have in as our tiered responses. The tiered responses were based on the way that the calls would potentially come in and be triaged under the DPCI-2 program. With the new triaging system under MPDS, we have the opportunity to work with the municipal partners and give the municipal partners more of a voice into the calls that they would like to be able to respond to us with. So to answer your question, that there would be a conversation with the municipal fire departments on whether or not they would like to respond to more or less, but there certainly wouldn't be a restriction per se of calls that they would normally respond to now. It would be based on evidence and what they could potentially apply to the community, and we would rely on working with the fire departments and the municipalities to make those determinations as to what they want to respond to.
Counselor David.
Thank you, Warden. Through you, Adam, thank you for that. Thank you for that report. I agree. This is really good news and very comprehensive. I just wanted to tag on to Councillor Grantham's question about the last question you answered about would like. I put this. My understanding, I mean, a lot of the times when fire people are involved in in the response, they're also needed because of tools and so forth. It wouldn't be an option at that point. I think it's a matter of being able to access people in a vehicle or on the scene, some strange scenario. But what part of it would be like? Is it, I'll let you answer that. Does that question make sense? Do you understand where, I don't understand the grades of like, and if you could clarify. That'd be
Yes.
great. Thank you.
So with regards to those types of calls, if you're referring to like a motor vehicle collision, the manner in which we're used to seeing the responses now would continue. So if a municipal fire department were responding to a vehicle collision with the purposes of being able to perform extrication from the vehicle, they would still be doing so. That would be included in the tiered response agreements. It's in there now. And through our conversations, I wouldn't anticipate any of the fire departments or requesting to be excluded from those types of responses. I would anticipate that they would still want to be very much included into those types of responses, which they absolutely would. The differences that we have within the MPDS system are more from those aspects, would see more of an impact within the medical type of responses. So we would see that within the community, for an example, a chest pain call versus an epistaxis versus, so within that medical side of that. But when we're looking at the vehicle collisions per se and the calls that we would normally see the fire departments right now with the tiered response agreements that we have in place, it's usually for those express purposes, whether there was an industrial accident, a farming accident, vehicle extrication. They're also responding for other purposes. They're not necessarily responding specifically for the purpose of assisting in patient care. There's a joint response that's needed in that particular time. So whether there's fluids leaking on the highway and extrication that needs to be performed, the fire department is there to help do that while the paramedics are addressing the medical concerns, and they work jointly together. So those would still continue to work seamlessly.
perfect. My black and white went to color. Thank you.
Okay, are there any more questions? Adam, thanks again. That was an excellent report and it's a good news story. And I'd just like to piggyback on Councillor Burkhart Jessen's comments because she did leave someone out. Not only Councillor Ropp and Councillor DeVee, but she herself. I think it's important to acknowledge that Kathy was instrumental in providing the advocacy and working with the MLPS team to bring this to the attention of the province and to get it where it is today. So thanks to the Three Musketeers there for doing that. We'll call you that for today. Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, we have a recommendation that the implementation of the Medical Priority Dispatch System, the MPDS, report be received for information. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Ropp, seconded by Councillor Mayhew. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up on the agenda, any inquiries? Any notice of motions? Councillor comments and other business? I'd just like to take a moment to wish Councillor Grantham and Councillor McGuire's Strathroy Jets luck in tonight's game in Brook Alvinston. I think this series is 3-1, so you gotta pull it out tonight, guys, or you're done. And I'll have to deal with the warden of Lambton on that one. So my best of luck wishes. I'm actually attending the game, so we'll see how that works out. In addition, many of you are traveling to Good Roads next week for the conference, and I'd like to wish all of you the best of luck with any and all of your delegations that you have with the different ministries. And then I hope you're successful there. Next item on the agenda, we have a recommendation that County Council convene as the Committee of Management at 1:17 p.m. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor McGuire. All in favor? And that's carried. I'll now turn this portion of the meeting over to Brent Kerwin, the Strathroy Lodge Administrator, to speak on the provincially required annual quality improvement plan for 26-27.
Thank you, Warden. Through you to Council. For over 10 years now, long-term care homes have been required to submit a board-approved quality improvement plan annually to Health Quality Ontario. That's a provincial body whose mandate includes reporting to the public on the health system is performing as a whole. So the Lodge's 2026-27 plan is due to Health Quality Ontario April 1st, covering the one-year period April 1st, 2026 to March 31st. Every year, the Lodge's Quality Improvement Plan decides on the content of the plan. And, in part, we do that by comparing ourselves to provincial long-term care home data that's available to us through the Institute of Health Information. So for the proposed 26-27 plan, the Lodge's Quality Improvement Committee has decided on two focus areas. One is to minimize the number of Lodge residents transferred to hospital. That is a carryover from our current plan, 526 plan. And then for 2026-27, we also want to focus on minimizing the development of pressure injuries among our residents. So pressure injuries, if you will, are commonly referred to as bed sores. They're skin breakdown due to prolonged pressure over provinces of the body, such as the heels and the elbow area. So two focus areas. Again, hospital transfers. A couple points of note. When we do look at comparative data, we do better than the average long-term care home in terms of minimizing our transfers to hospital. Obviously, room for improvement. We want to continue our focus there. And the rationale, of course, is that we want to keep our residents and familiar surroundings, and that's especially important for residents with dementia. Keeping residents in the lodge also avoids the risk of acquiring infection while in hospital and avoiding the risk of functional decline. So residents may not get the same level of physical activation while they're in the hospital as they would if lodge. So in terms of specific change ideas to minimize hospital transfers, what we want to do for 2026-27 is, first of all, develop what's referred to as end-of-life wishes. And that would be for every resident and family. That would go into the individual care plans. And that would give us a clearer direction on the preferences as to hospital transfer wishes. We also want to enhance our monitoring of residents with a diagnosis of congestive heart failure. That is a diagnosis that is considered potentially avoidable when it comes to long-term care residents and transferring to hospital. We also want to enhance our detection of delirium. So delirium, in simple terms, is a sudden state of significant confusion. And if we can detect delirium early enough, we may possibly uncover underlying infections such as pneumonia or urinary tract infections. And in detecting them earlier, we have the ability then to treat them in-house as opposed to the need to transfer if the infection, for example, is more advanced. And then finally, in terms of minimizing transfers to hospital, we want to continue our usage or enhance our usage with the Middlesex London Paramedic Services Community Paramedics in the Long-Term Care Program. That's the CPLTC Plus program introduced in the fall of 2024. So Council will recall that this is a program that provides on-site testing, testing results for blood work, ultrasounds, and that aids in our decision-making as to whether or not hospital transfer is warranted. So that's hospital transfers, and then again, minimizing pressure injuries. Again, the lodge does compare favorably when we look at data from the Canadian Institute of Health Information. And in terms of benefits for minimizing pressure injuries, it protects the residents from pain that can be associated with pressure injuries, and it can protect residents from health conditions that may arise from pressure injuries, such as infection. So specific change ideas to reduce pressure injuries. We want to provide specialized skin wellness training for our lodge registered nursing staff via the Canadian Nurses Association Skin Wellness course. We want to expand our use of therapeutic mattresses and positioning devices, which will offload pressure, take the pressure off skin, that pressure leading to pressure ulcers, pressure injuries. 3, we want to retrain our PSWs on the importance of repositioning. And we also want to add queuing in with our electronic records, our electronic health records. We can program individual records to flag when residents need repositioning. So a more precise, individualized plan in terms of the timing of residents and the repositioning. And then the 4th change idea is to implement preventive interventions such as dietitian, nutrition referrals, specialized wheelchair cushions for residents at risk of pressure injury. So every month we do every 3 months, every resident has a health assessment done. And through the associated software, the software will actually flag residents at risk of pressure injury. So if they reach a certain point, they will get individualized preventative interventions care plan for it. So having reviewed those 2 focus areas for our 26-27 plan, I am recommending that the provincially required annual quality improvement plan 26-27 report be received for information. 26-27 quality improvement plan
approve.
and that the lodge administrator be directed to submit the plan to Health Quality Ontario. Happy to address any questions.
Thank you, Brent. Are there any questions for Brent? Councillor Rob?
Thank you. Through the warden to Brent. It's more of a comment. I think I know you have to do this every year, but I think this is the best one I've seen for direct impact to your improvement for your residents. I do believe I agree the developing of the end of life wishes is an important topic, but all of these points are very direct to improved care. And I just want to commend you and your team on this report.
Any other comments? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the provincially required annual quality improvement plan for 26-27 report be received for information, and that the 2026-27 quality improvement plan be approved, and that the Strathmere Lodge administrator be directed to submit the quality improvement plan to Health Quality Ontario. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Burkhart Jessen, seconded by Councillor Mayhew. All in favor? And that's carried. We have a recommendation now that the Committee of Management rise and Council convene the committee to the Committee of a Whole at 1:26 p.m. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Smyberg, seconded by Councillor McGuire. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the first item up under the Committee of a Whole, we have 3 different delegations. And our first one is from SWIFT, their program update. And I'd like to welcome Barry Field, the Executive Director for SWIFT. And I'll turn the floor over to you at this time.
Thank you very much, Warden, and thank you to Council for having me here today. I do have a brief presentation to go through here. I'm not going to go into details on every slide. I think there's probably a bit too much information on here, but you certainly have access to that. If we can go to the next slide here. So I want to talk a little bit about what we've done specifically in Middlesex County. There have been 3 programs we've implemented or are in the process of implementing right now. We're not very creative. We simply call them SWIFT 1, SWIFT 2, and SWIFT 2.1. We can go to the next slide. SWIFT 1 was our initial project. It was the big one. Just to give some contractual background between SWIFT and Middlesex, in October of 2017, we signed an agreement between the 2 of us. That agreement was amended in January of 2001. The key points in there were that Middlesex was to contribute about $784,000 to SWIFT. And in turn, we were to implement at least a 13.5 times multiplier on that worth of telecommunications infrastructure within the boundary of Middlesex. What that worked out to is that we were to implement at least $10.5 million or more. It's important to note that there was no stipulation in the contract to repay any funds to Middlesex County. That is different from some of the other contracts. The Middlesex contract was very unique in that it didn't have a stipulation to repay funds, and there was no money given up front until we had signed contracts with the ISPs, which again was different from some of the other counties that participated in the SWIFT program. In May of 2021, Middlesex actually paid SWIFT $784,000. Next slide. As a result of the SWIFT 1.0 program, we actually spent $15.2 million, which is a 19.4 times multiplier on the Middlesex contribution. There were 7 unique projects within the boundaries of Middlesex. I won't go over each of the lines on the map, but there were 2 projects with Execulink, 1 with START, 1 with NFTC, 1 with Quadro, 1 with ATEL, and 1 with Explore. In total, there were over 18,000 premises served. So a premises could be either a home or a business. For the most part, they're homes, but in some cases they are businesses. We implemented 225 kilometers of fiber within the county. All projects were completed as of June 2023, and the loan guaranteed was canceled early in 2024. That may have actually been December 2023, but around that time frame. The SWIFT 2.0 project, this was not part of the funding agreement. This was an additional project given to us by the province. In Middlesex County, we spent $3.9 million, and that was to implement a project in Oneida. Again, there was no municipal contribution. There were 634 premises served. 632 of those were in Oneida, and 2 of them were Middlesex proper. 37.5 kilometers of fiber were constructed. That project was completed December of last year. And SWIFT 2.1 is a project that we're currently undertaking with the province. It's a $47 million project. There are no premises within the boundaries of Middlesex County on that project. These were specific premises that the province gave to us to complete on their behalf. Besides SWIFT, there are a number of other broadband programs completing services within Ontario and specifically within Middlesex County. Those are UBF, which is the Universal Broadband Fund run by ISED. It's a federal program. The ICON program run by the province of Ontario, and the big one, ASIP, run by the province of Ontario through Infrastructure Ontario. SWIFT, as you can see from the map, there's a lot of broadband activity happening outside of the SWIFT projects within Middlesex County. SWIFT doesn't manage these programs, and we have very limited insight into them. Most of what is available is available. There's a link in that Ontario Connects broadband map there. That will take you to the map that the province keeps updated on a regular basis, and it shows the status and the locations of all of their proposed and ongoing projects. So beyond SWIFT 1 and SWIFT 2.0, we are currently undertaking some activities. On the broadband side, if we could go to the next slide there. On the broadband side, we're currently assisting with what the province calls the very last premises. These are premises that have been missed by all of the other programs within Ontario. Within Southwestern Ontario, there's approximately 2,000 premises. And we are discussing helping the province implement those currently. We don't have a contract for that just yet. We're in the early stages of it. On top of that, we're planning an independent study to identify gaps after ASIP is complete. The ASIP program, again, a provincial program, was intended to be complete by the end of 2025. The province has pushed that out until the end of 2028 because of the slow progress of that program. SWIFT is intending to complete another study at the end of that to determine what the real status is at that point. There will be premises that do not have access to fiber. Broadband is not just fiber in the eyes of the province. It's any technology that will deliver what's called 50/10 service. So 50 megahertz or megabits of download speed and 10 up. So there are many areas, many communities within Southwestern Ontario and within Middlesex County that will not end up with fiber. If they have DSL or wireless service, the CRTC deems that as service, so the province will not fund any projects within those areas. We want to look at that. Recently, the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus has passed a resolution stating that in their view, broadband is fiber or hybrid fiber coax, which is a close cousin of fiber. And essentially, the DSL and wireless are not considered to be broadband. So that puts us in a position where we can go and do a study to really identify the areas that have fiber service and those that don't, and potentially come up with funding applications to address the problem once ASIP is complete. On top of that, we are looking at other local solutions to potentially address some of those areas. We're working on doing a pilot project in Brant County that would essentially have a plebiscite. And if it passes, we would go in on behalf of the municipality and implement fiber in an area that currently has DSL service only and is not being funded by any of these other programs. So if that's successful, we would bring it to other municipalities to see if it's something they wanted to consider as well. Beyond broadband, on the next slide, we're starting next month, a cellular coverage assessment within Southwestern Ontario, including Middlesex. Essentially, we'll be going out in drive testing, doing an independent study outside of what Bell and Rogers and other carriers tell us, trying to find out what the actual coverage is within Southwestern Ontario. If you look on Bell's webpage or Rogers' webpage, they have these very nice maps showing complete coverage everywhere. We all know that's not completely true. So we're going to go out and try to find out exactly where there are holes, and then go to the provincial and federal governments to see what we can do about plugging those holes, working with Bell, working with Rogers. Those are kind of the big activities we have upcoming. If we can go to the next slide. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Broadband Development Fund. As part of SWIFT 1, we had a program where the ISPs, the internet service providers that we funded, would, over the period of 7 years, they would give us a little residual on the revenue they were making from the networks that we funded. In total, rather, it works out to be about $8 million, so 8 million and change. If we can go to the next slide there. So we are about 50% of the way through that. We've collected just over $4 million, and we continue to collect revenue on a quarterly basis from those. And then on the next slide, we should talk about the uses. So there are a number of activities we intend to fund with that $8.2 million. First and foremost, there was a loan given to us by Chatham-Kent early on that we have to repay. It's about $3 million. And then there are 3 municipalities who had in their contracts that we had to repay them, and they did not waive that. Out of 20 municipalities in the SWIFT membership, only 3 require repayment of their partial repayment of their contribution. So we'll use the BDF to repay those. We're going to fund the broadband study. Of course, we're going to fund the cellular study. And then if there's any money left over, any other initiatives directed by the SWIFT Board of Directors, essentially. On to the next. More in there. Yeah, that's it there. Fair enough.
Okay, thank you for that report, Barry. Are there any questions for Barry? Councilor Burkhart-Jessen?
Thank you, and through the warden, thanks for coming, Barry. We were talking before the meeting that we think it was probably before the pandemic that you were last in front of us. And so for some of my colleagues, they've never met you, so that's great that you have come out today. Just wondering if you can just clarify one thing to start. The presentation indicated that there was 1,808 premises that were served by SWIFT. I think you misspoke because you said 18,000. So I just want to clarify.
If I said 18,000, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
It's 1,008.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that that is clear,
Yeah.
that it's the 1,800. And then maybe just take a minute or so to expand on where exactly in next steps does Middlesex fit in SWIFT's program?
Sure.
You mentioned the broadband study and the cellular study, but if we do look at the map that you provided in your presentation, there aren't a lot of gaps in Middlesex. And I think for anybody that was involved, prior to us actually signing our agreement, that was always a discussion point that was had around the horseshoe, that Middlesex is for the most part fairly well served. Yes, there are definitely gaps, and we've been able obviously to fill those gaps, but that's always been a concern of Middlesex. But going forward, where do you see Middlesex in the role with SWIFT?
Sure. And I'll talk to both the broadband initiatives and the cellular initiatives. So on the broadband side, the province has done quite a substantial job in bringing a lot of money to bear and funding some of these other programs. Middlesex is being very well served by the ASIP program. One criticism of the ASIP program is it's not all inclusive. So what I mean by that is that the ISPs, initially they were given these lots, these areas where they needed to serve all of the underserved prems as part of the funding. They were allowed to back off about in some cases 5%, in some cases 10%. Of those prems, they were allowed to peel those off. And what happened was, and this makes sense, that is they took the hardest to reach, kind of the most expensive to get to, and they peeled those off. So initially, those are the prems we'll be addressing in Middlesex and in the other 19 municipalities are what they call the very last prems, the ones that just didn't get served by ASIP or ICON or UBF or by SWIFT. You're absolutely right. They're few and far between, and that's a good thing. It means the other programs have actually delivered collectively. So that will cover off the immediate broadband. On top of that, there are other areas within Middlesex County that are not getting fiber. They're not getting an upgrade because they've got DSL or because they've got wireless. We want to look at those areas and see if there's a case to put in a funding application to either the federal or the provincial governments to see if we can get those served. What's happened essentially is those that were the haves before have become the have-nots now because they had some level of broadband, but now everybody else has kind of leapfrogged them, and we want to make sure everybody has kind of equal access, if you will. And then on the cellular side, Middlesex is absolutely a part of that study that we are starting next month. So you'll see a little SWIFT truck out driving up and down, back and forth, a bunch of roads within Middlesex County, and they are an equal partner in that exercise.
One more follow-up, just back to the last premises. Do you have any idea what that number looks like, or you won't know until?
So I do. What I can say in southwestern Ontario, it's approximately 2,000. Many of those, we've been given a list of 2,000. Many of those are already served. One thing I will say is the data, it's very difficult to get the data correct, right? From the federal government to the provincial and then to us. So of those 2,000, some of those are already served. We know they're already served because we serve them. And some of them are questionable. There's about 450 of those that are on islands that don't have power, so maybe they don't actually need service. So that brings it down to somewhere around 1,500. So there are not many. There's probably less than 100 that would be within Middlesex County.
Thank you. Any other questions? I know some of the ones that have been missed are people that have built a house within the last year, so they didn't land in time to be connected. So it's nice to hear that they'll be looked after. And as many of you know, I'm driving through anywhere in southwestern Ontario. You do drop calls quite frequently, so I look forward to hearing a follow-up report on your cellular research data that you're able to obtain. So thank you very much. If there's no other questions or comments, we have a recommendation that the SWIFT program update report be received for information. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Smybert, seconded by Councillor David. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks again, Barry. The next delegation is actually online, so I'll refer you to the screen. We have a presentation from David Barnaby, our inspector, or I guess he's our interim inspector. Is that the right way to phrase it? For the detachment commander, critical incident commander for Middlesex OPP. So David, welcome by Zoom here to our meeting, and I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to you.
Good afternoon. Everybody can hear me okay?
We can't hear you. Have you got your mic on?
I do, yeah. Let me just turn things up a little bit more. How's that?
Okay, we're just working with a few dials at this end to see if we can enhance it. Okay, try again, David, please.
How's that? Can everybody hear me okay
Oh,
now?
perfect. I like it when technology works. That's great. I'll
Perfect.
turn this portion over to you now. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Nice to see everybody virtually. I apologize for not being able to make it in person. Some personal matters have kept me working remotely currently. So I believe everybody has a summary of the 2025 Middlesex report, and I have some speaking notes that I'll be referring to, and at which point open to any questions that anybody might have. Subject to that, I'll just carry on and we'll go from there. So overall, in 2025, there were some mixed trends across enforcement and crime occurrence and public safety indicators. Um, Overall collisions, fatalities, and property crime had declined. And what we did see is an increase in enforcement and Highway Traffic Act occurrences. It's hard to draw a causation. However, there's certainly a correlation between increased enforcement and decreased fatalities and motor vehicle collisions. Uh, However, we did see an increase in violent crime occurrences, and especially related to mental health occurrences. And like I said before, we did see an increase in traffic enforcement. To break that down just a little bit further, in 2025, we saw a decrease in total collisions by 13.9% compared to 2024 statistics. We did see 11 fatalities. 10 of those were related to motor vehicle collisions, like as in cars, and then one of them was related to a snowmobile accident, fatality. It was a decline of fatalities from previous years from 15.4%. Property damage collisions were down 14.4% as well. As you can imagine, that's a good thing because it does impact insurance for our citizens that we patrol. Indicators for those fatalities, of the 10 that were involved for motor vehicle collisions, 5 of them were related to alcohol or drugs. 2 of them were related to speeding. 2 were distracted driving, and 2 were as a result of no seatbelts. And then the motor vehicle collision for the snowmobile accident, it's that very similar to a motorbike, very little protection to that, and um, that's why it wasn't successful there. Criminal code and provincial charges being laid. We did see an increase in total charges being laid across 2025 by 9.5% compared to 2024. We saw significant increases in Highway Traffic Act charges. As you may or may not know, Middlesex OPP leads in most categories, the province, definitely Western region when it comes to our big four charges. And so we're very proud of the work that our people are doing out there. Highway Traffic Act charges from 2024 to 2025, we did increase by 7.8%. Liquor license acts, we went up by 33%. And overall violations in totality, we went up by 9.1% from previous years. As indicated in the beginning comments, we did see an increase in violent crimes. So violent crimes are categorized as anything from related to assaults all the way to firearms related incidents. So we saw an increase of 3.6% from 2024 stats in 2025. A little bit of a breakdown on that. It was the assaults or intimate partner related incidents and those related to mental health occurrences that were ultimately the largest impact. We saw an increase of 12.4%, an increase in those related incidents. Our sexual assault investigations went down by 10%, and robberies went down by 40%. Those are good stats to have. However, it's really difficult to fully comprehend when a victim of sexual assault may contact us. So we look at that data and still continue the efforts of ensuring that we're taking a victim-centered approach with anything that we do. It's great to see that data has declined. However, it's not a true indication of perhaps what is happening in our communities. It's just one piece of tool that we use to analyze that. Property crimes did go down slightly, 0.3% in 2025, which is great, and we're very proud of our street crimes unit, local street crimes unit. They do excellent work. We did see a reduction in theft under 5,000 by 5%, a reduction of possession of stolen goods and trafficking by 27.3%. Sometimes those things are related to projects that we have completed and arrested those, and they are currently in jail. So it's a common trend to see when these people have those people have been released from incarceration. They've done their time. Some trends that we often see is that possession and trafficking of stolen goods start to increase again in certain areas, at which point then we have to hold those accountable again. So it's nice to see that there is a decrease in that area right now. However, when we look at it from a multi-year data analysis, we see that those trends are fairly common. Frauds are on the increase, not just in Middlesex, but across the province. And one of the strategies that Middlesex has undertaken is assigned a detective specifically to deal with the lower threshold frauds, specifically targeting our elderly within our communities and those that might be most vulnerable to like love triangles or exposed to on the emotional side of things. So Middlesex has placed someone in the position where they're investigating those lower threshold frauds that are still significant to our community and impacting our communities in a negative way. And we've started this in February, the beginning of February. It's a new program, and we're starting to see some significant impacts in a positive way with those investigations. And again, helping people understand and navigate those type of frauds when they do come to our attention, and holding those accountable by legislative processes that we have to our disposal. So overall, we're starting to see some great efforts by the detachment. I just had one more page here that I'm missing here. The drug crimes, as I mentioned before, very similar to property crimes. They were closely related. So we did see a decline in property crimes, and during that same period, we did see a decrease in drug offenses. Again, they do correlate together. So when certain known people are incarcerated, we do see a decline within this area. And then when they are out, we start to see an increase in those areas as well. So we are monitoring those every day. Mental health occurrences as a whole, they went down in 2025 from 2024. However, the significance of the mental health calls is increasing. As mentioned, we have seen an increase in assaults. And when we correlate the two calls for service together, there is definitely a correlation between those people experiencing crisis and those that are also committing assaults. Patrol hours from 2024 and 2023 we did see a significant increase. from in 2025, 28,650 hours of patrol hours. One of the things that we are attempting to do is utilize our analytics a little bit more. As you can imagine, the resources to everybody's disposal is finite, and utilizing our resources appropriately to benefit public safety is really important. So one of the strategies that we've done is utilize our analyst to advise us where there are common trends within our communities and deploying those resources accordingly. So you may see a decrease in patrol hours. However, you'll still see the policing excellence that is expected from the OPP and from our communities when it comes to enforcement. Um, Moving down the road. Public complaints within 2025, we did see an increase overall in public complaints. One thing that is important to note is that a public complaint does not mean that it is substantiated complaint. So every complaint is treated professionally, and whether it is investigated through our internal public standards, professional standards unit, or it goes through LECA. Ultimately, everything has to LECA has to be advised of every complaint that comes forward, and then they will decide whether we can retain that investigation or whether they will assume carriage of the investigation, or whether an outside agency will be responsible for the investigation and dealing with that complaint. So the substantiation of those complaints is very, very low. So that's something that is we're very proud of. We don't necessarily have control of why people lay complaints against officers. I can tell you that the vast majority of the complaints come in from officers doing enforcement, and then someone lays a complaint because they're not satisfied with the reasoning for the enforcement. Regardless of the complaint, we do have to treat them seriously and run through an investigative process. So those numbers are, again, not reflective of substantiated complaints, just complaints that do come forward. Youth charges did go down in the 2025 year. One of the strategies that we are working with our Crown attorneys is to navigate how we can better serve our youths through legal processes, diversion programs, and so on. It's not very common in Middlesex area as it is in some other areas, and it's something definitely that the command team here in Middlesex is exploring with our crime units and educating our frontline members and working with our Crown attorneys so we can utilize that program more efficiently. There are some significant upticks to using diversion rather than charging our youths with criminal charges. The diversion program, when you look at the statistics and reviews, there is some significant benefits that hold people accountable, while still ensuring that the youth is treated as they should be through this learning phase of their lives. Overall strategic takeaways. Public safety indicators show improvement in collisions and fatalities. Again, there's likely a correlation there because of the fantastic enforcement from our members here. Violent crime as related to mental health calls and occurrences continue to be something that we are strategizing on. We did see a significant increase in referrals to victim services to support those people. However, we are struggling in having those people accept referrals. So we're as a county, we're hovering around 33% of those that we offer supports to actually accept the referrals that we're offering them. We do have some strategies in place which involve our local victim specialists working with victim services and our CMHA partners, and in conjunction with our MCERT partners as well, to see how we can timely, utilize time to our advantage and better assist those that are struggling in crisis, whether it's intimate partner violence or mental health crisis. Regardless, we're trying to, when we do outreach again, to ensure that some time has lapsed and then the person maybe is in a better place to understand what the services involved, and then they can make a rational decision whether they want those supports or not. Overall, some excellent work in 2025 by the team in Middlesex. Some things outlined outside of the report that you would have that I would like to highlight as well, that typically the municipalities won't see because of the reporting structure of the OPP and the costing side of things. So the staffing side of things, we have received some significant upticks, and we will continue to in Middlesex. We fought hard to ensure that we are upticking our staffing model within Middlesex to appropriately deal with the demands of a very, very busy county, but also an area that surrounds the largest city in Western region, being London City. We also assist with the three reserves in CMO, Chippewa, Muncie, and Oneida. So we want to make sure that we're advocating for our detachment, and we have received some support there. So that's it's great to see. We saw 5 new recruits late last year. 4 more recruits attended Middlesex in February. And in the summer months, we'll be receiving another 4, and in the fall, another 4 from there. So overall, some significant increases to our staffing in Middlesex proper, which is fantastic to hear. Currently, we'll be running a special constable competition for 2 positions. So we'll be increasing our court staff as well, which is fantastic. And we will be running a parallel sergeant competition for 2 spots as well. So that's something we're very excited for here in Middlesex. Over the course of this year so far, our CEO, so our Community Engagement Officer, Jeff Hare, has been extremely busy. 42 total media releases so far with related to ongoing incidents or incidents that we've been involved in, and arrests. Our auxiliaries remain the most prolific and busiest unit in the entire Western region. Already to date, there are over 800 hours of auxiliary hours for our community, so it's fantastic. We're very proud of what the work that they do. Most recently, and I know this has been a fairly hot topic for municipalities, and rightfully so, the Middlesex had completed a safety stops here initiative, and that ran from March 2nd to the 13th of this year, and we're just waiting on the analytics from that. The analyst is working up the numbers, but we're very proud of the work that our people did. I know from reviewing the shift briefing reports that we saw some significant enforcement and education and media releases related to that specific initiative here in Middlesex. What some people may or may not know is outside of Middlesex proper, the OPP has significant resources that deploy to the area, which includes our crisis negotiator teams, our major crime units, our ERT teams, our TRUE teams, our ROPE teams. So all of these units are related to provincial entities. For our ROPE team, so they are responsible for apprehending or arresting high-risk people that are out and about. And within the Middlesex area proper, our rope team has already deployed 43 times and arrested 43 high-risk individuals. So they're doing fantastic work for us as well in our county. Our emergency response team, which is a tier 2 tactical team, and our tactics and rescue unit, which is our tier 1 hostage rescue team. They've deployed several times within Middlesex proper. Our ERT team specifically has already deployed 21 times within the Middlesex area, to assist our frontline members for calls for service. And our crisis negotiators would deploy with those teams on a regular basis. So anytime it's a tiered response, anytime that they deploy, our ERT teams and troop teams deploy, so do our crisis negotiators. So again, the overall impact of the OPP within our communities, we're constantly looking at ways and efficiencies that we can assist with public safety. And overall, the deployment model seems to be very effective. Certainly ways that we can find efficiencies, and we're always open to feedback and areas that concern to the county, so that way we can take that information and apply it effectively. And subject to any questions or concerns from the council, that would be my report.
Thank you, David, for that report. Are there any questions for David? Councillor Mayhew.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Warden. David, thanks for the report. In rural municipalities, David, two crimes seem to be problematic for mayors. One is stolen pickup trucks, and the other is shop break-ins, things like that, utility buildings, things of that nature. Has there been any change in those? Are they reported under property continuum on that?
Sorry, sir, I caught a little bit of that. Small communities, I heard something about a pickup truck.
There's two crimes in rural communities are stolen pickup trucks and drive shed break-ins. Have you seen any changes in that, or are they still chronic in rural areas?
To tell you the truth, I would say that they are chronic in all areas, not just rural areas. When we look at the analysts, and our analysts, the way they communicate well with our municipal partners as well. So not only do we look at OPP trends within Middlesex, but we look at OPP trends within neighboring detachments and across the province. And then we share information with our municipal partners as well to see if those same trends are impacting their communities. So the high volume vehicles that are stolen, there are those that are very lucrative, high-end vehicles, that is, a multi-million-dollar fraud and, impacting the communities in a bigger way. However, the more generic stolen vehicles are your pickup trucks. So that is something that is always a concern for us. I know manufacturers have taken steps to, uniquely locate tracking devices within their vehicles. However, the more that manufacturers do and law enforcement does, our criminal culture also does a great job of keeping apprised on how to navigate those type of things. So if I was to answer your question honestly, which I try to do at all times, yes, that is still a concern. Stolen pickup trucks is a concern. It is something that we are tracking. It is not just a rural Ontario issue, though, that remains an issue across the province as a whole.
Thank you, David. There's some people around the horseshoe that represent different municipalities on the Middlesex OPP Detachment Board, and I would encourage those of you that aren't on that board, if you ever have any concerns, please bring them forward to your representatives, because they will in turn take them to the detachment board. And David's been very, very good at responding to those questions and concerns. We've had good feedback. I was happy to see the school bus initiative where you targeted that week. That was very well received in the community and much appreciated. I believe it was in Stratford Caradoc. I'd like to thank the library for hosting one of the fraud seminars And Jeff here and his team did an excellent job at that. And I'd also like to give a shout out to the OPP detachment. I mean, it was a challenging winter with West 401 and the 402, just the weather-related events, not only with the other first responders, but the OPP. You know, they had their hands full on many days. So please pass along our thanks for their efforts there. Any other questions or comments for Dave? If not, then we have a recommendation that the Middlesex OPP Detachment Board report for 2025 be received for information. Moved by Councillor David, seconded by Councillor McMillan. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks again for your time, David. See you soon.
Well, thank you so much, and look forward to meeting all of you in person very soon. Take care.
The next item on our agenda is the 911 dispatch service update, and I'd like to welcome Brent Cushman, the Deputy Chief of Police for Strathroy, and Crystal Holmes to the mic there. And I'm not sure who's tag teaming or who's going to go first, so I'll leave that up to you two. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm just going to provide some of the numbers for 2025. Middlesex 911 calls for 2025. We received 20,418 911 calls that came into our Strathroy CareDoc Communication Center for 2025. Since taking over Middlesex County 911, our 911 call volume has tripled in number. And for Middlesex Fire calls for 2025, we've received 4,067 Middlesex County Fire calls for 2025. Our radio equipment, our AvTech radio system will be installed sometime May of this year. And we are currently on schedule for NG 911. We're looking at September 2026. Any questions? Comments? Thanks.
Thank you, Crystal. Do you have anything to add, Brent, or you're just here for questions and to support?
I'm moral support. She
Good.
didn't know she was presenting until today.
Oh, okay,
That's the
just
way
throw
I
her under
roll.
the bus. What a nice guy. Okay. All right, any questions? Councillor Grantham, go ahead.
Thank you. And more of a comment and way of information for other members who may or may not know that we're about to embark on an expansion of our police headquarters, and that's partially driven by the need for more space for the dispatchers. Current space is rather cramped. It's very cramped, I would say, rather. So part of what we're doing in Strathroy is it's a $10 million investment in expanding the police headquarters. So I know they'll very much look forward to that and the added space.
Okay, thank you. We won't pass the hat right now, but
We already did.
all right. Any other questions for the Strathroy CareDoc team? Go ahead, CAO.
I won't offer questions through you, Madam Warden. I just want to say this actually falls within our emergency services line item, and Chris Trainey and John Alston sort of oversee this, and we have agreements for dispatch and serve with Strathroy CareDoc, and that was something we transitioned on last year. So Chris and John just really wanted the team to come in, have this presentation as we move forward, because we have those agreements in place for a few more years, and just highlight that service area and the great work that John and Chris and the team are doing with Strathroy CareDoc on this initiative. So just wanted to point that out to give a bit more context as to why everyone was here and highlight those numbers, because it was a service transition with that agreement, and it's going quite well by all reports. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a great partnership, and we were looking for efficiencies at the time. So excellent. Councillor Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment through the warden. I think we don't talk about this much because our staff, our fire departments are happy with the dispatch service. And so it's not something on the radar, right? And that's a great point, that we should be making sure that we thank the people that are doing the job, because when your people are happy, we don't hear about things. And so that's a good thing. But yeah, just thank you for the service. And I know our fire department certainly appreciate it.
So keep up the good work, I guess. Are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the 911 dispatch services update report be received for information. Moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Councillor Smyberg. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks again for coming out. I appreciate it. Next item on the agenda are the reports from our county officers, and we don't have any there, unless we got a surprise or two. The following item are the action items. Next up is the 2025 forestry update and draft forest management plan. And I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to Mark Brown, our woodland conservation officer, and Dirk Vanderwerf, our director of planning and development.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Through the Warden to Council, I think you have all, I'm sure, read cover to cover my report and seen my presentation, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much. Is the presentation? No. No presentation. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Any questions? Let's go. No, I mean, highlights of the year. We did a lot of field work, as you know, re-inventorying the county forests. The administration of the bylaw was pretty much same as the previous year in the number of permit applications processed and dealing with all of that. We learned a lot about our forests during our field work. We found species that we thought we'd actually lost, like the black gum tree, the northern hair streak butterfly. So it was really exciting for a forest nerd like myself to get excited about lost trees and lost birds and butterflies. So it was a great year. We had our education outreach program for our new woodlands bylaw reached far and wide, and we went as far as Renfrew County with our education outreach campaign. We were invited to the Community Forest Managers annual meeting last fall, and a shout out to David Samuels for an excellent presentation that he did. I think we are seen as a county, we are seen as a pretty progressive county in the way we administer and seek compliance on all of our woodlands bylaw. So it's a bit of a model for other community foresters to work towards. So we did a presentation and David answered a ton of super awkward questions for lawyers, and it went down very well. And we've continued to get some really good feedback from that group. All my sort of peers that are out there looking after other counties like York Region and Peel and Simcoe and all that sort of thing. So yeah, in terms of weeds, I think we're actually getting a bit of a handle on the giant hogweed in the Upper River Thames watershed. I have to shout out to the landowners. They've been getting nagging letters from me for I think 3 or 4 years now. 60 odd landowners get a letter every spring. Please take care of it on your property. And they've done a bang up job, and I think they're doing great. Perth County are starting to, I think, get a handle on the source of the seed, because obviously the seed comes down the river and settles on the river floodplains and infects our landowners' properties. So I think we're getting a handle on that. So kudos to the landowners and all our partners that are sort of working on those kind of initiatives. And yeah, Hydro One, I think I had a slide on the Hydro One corridor, the new right-of-way that will go through the county from Longwood to Lakeshore. It'll affect about, well, it looks like they're going to remove about 30 hectares of forest, which is a significant hit on our forest cover. But we are going to work very closely to make sure that that gets replaced on the county basis, because we've told them right from the outset we have a no net loss policy when it comes to forest cover. And, you know, it really doesn't matter if it's a big utility like Hydro One or Union Gas or, any Enbridge gas and all those sort of, if they're building infrastructure, they need to replace any forests that are lost due to infrastructure improvements. So we'll continue working with them on that. I think you're already aware that it goes through one of our county forests, the Lockwood Tract, and we'll lose 3.5, 4 hectares of forest when that right of way is cleared. Currently, they're doing bat studies. We have 2 species at risk bats that call our county forests home, along with the butterflies and the birds and other animals. So yeah, that's those studies are being done, and eventually we'll get down to the nitty gritty, which is negotiating compensation, because we lose that area of forest forever, essentially. So it'll be a profits forgone type negotiation in terms of compensation. And yeah, I think then we just segue into the management plan, which I trust you've all read cover to cover. So any questions on the management plan? I lost a few brain cells writing it. It's not my first management plan that I've ever written. I'm 40 years into my career, so I hope I did an okay job. So.
Through you, Madam Warden, I think, yeah, sorry, the slides up there about the Hydro One project that Mark was referencing as well. And I just want to take the opportunity, Mark's joking around about this, but the proposed forest management plan was developed entirely in-house with Dirk, Mark, Jared, and the team there. We're very lucky to have that expertise in-house. It's a very impressive plan. I think most times that would have to be external to a consultant. So they've done a wonderful job. And I don't want to just fly over it. Rebecca, if you could go to the next slide, that would be appreciated. And it really gives a wonderful timeline on it, but council has shown that our forest assets are important to the county. And this plan that Mark and Dirk will explain is going to go out for consultation before it comes back for final approval, will really codify and solidify the importance of county forest as we move forward here. So I didn't want to just slide over it. And Dirk and Mark, I'm not sure if you have more to add, but it's excellent done so far.
Yeah, and if I could also add, you can't undervalue the carbon storage benefits along with the annual pollution absorption. So I think that those are key factors as well, and we appreciate that. Councillor DeVee.
Thank you, Warden. I did speak to staff earlier, expressing my enthusiasm, and the impressive factor was there for me. When I read this is a really, really comprehensive report, as the Warden has noted, as our CA was commenting on. So I just want to make sure it really is. The time horizon of the plan too speaks volumes to how this is being thought about. You can't do a 5-year plan on something like this. You have to have a long-term view, be ready to anticipate and act on things like the hydro corridor. So I'm blithering on, but I just wanted to make sure that you are aware that this is a really fine piece of work. And I already told you about my vocabulary increases. So I appreciated that as well. Thank you.
So maybe a 5-star report. I don't know. Anything else anybody wants to add or any questions? Okay, seeing none then. We have a recommendation that the 2025 forestry update and draft forest management plan be received for information, and the council direct staff to proceed with the consultation phase for the draft forest management plan 2026 to 2056. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Kathy Burkhardt-Jessen, seconded by Councillor Grantham. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks again, Mark. We appreciate your work. The next item on our agenda is the Middlesex County Economic Development Strategic Plan for 2026 to 2030. And I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to our Director of Economic Development, Kara Finn, at this time. And Paul, did you and CAO? I guess he wants to weigh in too.
We're going to tag team.
You're going to
this, so we'll
tag
just
team,
give it a
alrighty.
second to get the presentation up. Yeah. Through Madam Warden. So Kara is going to present the proposed County Economic Development and Tourism Strategic Plan. I just wanted to take a moment to sort of give a lay of the land and some context. So really what we've tried to do here is reflect council's direction to maintain economic development as an internal service, strengthen that capacity, and place greater emphasis on the measurable outcomes and accountability. It's important as we look at this as well. We've really went through almost 3 years of assessment of the economic development service portfolio. Would we do it internally? Would we do it externally? How would we resource that? Would it become an EDC? And what this strategy does is it's responsive to the current environment, which is very much in flux as it pertains to the overall market conditions. But also it accepts the reality that we are not a single tier municipality. At the county, we do not control local planning decisions or water wastewater. That is a local sphere of jurisdiction that we respect. So we need to complement in that system and really bring opportunities to our local municipalities and support them when they have their own or when the province comes to us looking for that. So we're really trying to position the county in that facilitator role. If you go to the next slide, if that's okay. We're really structured to move from context to action, go over a bit of the background, then the economic case, then the strategy itself, and finally how council will see those measurable results. I do want to give Kara and her team a lot of credit. They pulled this together very quickly internally in consultation with local municipalities and interest holders, and have a great job, done a great job making it actionable and realistic to our current situation in-house here. And I think something else that's interesting, if you look around, some of our regional partners are also updating their economic development strategies, and ours was designed and built outside of that, but you'll find there's commonalities between those regional plans, which shows that within the area, the city and some of our other counties are experiencing similar things. So I think it's good to ground that although we have uniqueness in our plan, it's a common experience across the region. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kara to go through the nuts and bolts of this.
To our CAO and through you, Warden, to Council. At a high level, Middlesex County's role in economic development is really focused on regional coordination, investment attraction, and partnership development. The value framework that you see on the right-hand side outlines how the department contributes to the county by generating investment opportunities, supporting business growth, enhancing regional competitiveness, and strengthening the industrial and commercial tax base. It's important to emphasize that as an upper tier municipal service delivery, the county's role is not to directly undertake development, but to enable the conditions that allow municipalities and businesses to succeed. Move forward to the next slide, please. This slide highlights the importance of this work. While Middlesex County has experienced overall assessment growth, industrial and commercial growth has not kept pace with residential development. This imbalance has implications for long-term financial sustainability as non-residential development generates significant assessment with comparatively lower service demands. Strengthening the industrial and commercial tax base helps maintain competitive tax rates while also supporting employment across this region. The strategy that we present today is fundamentally focused on improving that balance over time by fostering the conditions that support business investment and job creation. The strategy is organized around 6 key outcomes that reflect where the county can provide the greatest value. These include investment attraction, business retention and expansion, workforce and talent development, regional economic intelligence and data, regional economic infrastructure and site readiness, and finally, destination development and regional tourism marketing. Each of these areas aligns with the county's role as regional coordinator and enabler. For example, in investment attraction, the focus is on generating and advancing opportunities, while business retention often involves direct engagement with employers to support their expansion. In terms of land readiness, the county supports its municipalities in preparing employment lands, which is critical to attracting new investment. Collectively, these outcomes provide a clear and focused framework for delivering economic development service as an internal department over the next 5 years. To support Council's direction, the strategy includes a defined set of performance indicators aligned to each outcome. These indicators are intended to measure both activity and progress. Early indicators include investment inquiries, employer engagement, workforce initiatives, and tourism activity, which demonstrate whether opportunities are being generated. Over time, however, broader outcomes such as employment land readiness, business expansion activity, and growth in industrial and commercial assessment will also be tracked. Given that major investment decisions often occur over several years' time, these indicators provide a means of demonstrating that a strong pipeline of opportunities is being developed. In terms of monitoring and performance, the strategy lays out that Council will receive regular updates on the implementation of this strategic plan. This will include quarterly reporting on activities, performance indicators, and key economic development initiatives, as well as comprehensive annual reports. Updates will also incorporate broader economic indicators such as assessment growth and development activity to provide a comprehensive view of progress over time. This approach ensures transparency, supports accountability, and enables Council to provide ongoing guidance as the strategy is implemented over time. This brings us to the end of the presentation. I would personally like to thank and take this opportunity to thank local industry, community partners, our senior leadership team, our CAO, and our department team members across economic development and tourism for their contributions to this new strategic plan that we look forward to enacting in collaboration. The full economic development strategic plan is attached to the Council agenda. When approved, it will be published on the Invest in Middlesex website. We would be pleased at this time to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Kara. Are there any questions or comments? The only thing I'm going to add is I appreciate the presentation, and I think we've identified early on, excuse me, sorry, just a second. Sorry about that. Our need to strengthen our commercial and industrial base for our viability over the long term from a tax assessment. So I appreciate that focus, and I think we're all aligned with that. Councillor McGuire.
Thank you, and I appreciate the presentation. Very well done. I'm looking at the chart on the last page, or I think it's the last page yet. Well, there's the questions page, but on page 7. So there's a number of key indicators there, and then reporting frequency is annually with general quarterly updates coming back. Just want to ensure that a council sitting for 4 years at a time gets eyes on this more than 4 times to move it forward. So, you know, from a personal basis, sitting here as a councillor, I would just like to see more touch time with it, or at least that those quarterly reports build upon the previous ones so we can see where our investment into economic development, 1.5 million a year, is showing a benefit during our term of council sitting here. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yeah, a great point. Absolutely. And I think I'd draw attention back to Kara's 2025 annual report, where we really went in detail on ROI for the investments council has made. But you're absolutely right. It needs to be more than once a year. And Kara kind of mentioned it, but I could see how this chart would cause some gray area. The intent is to really come with an enhanced quarterly report that will do interim reporting on these statistics. You know, we can check out the MPAC assessment data throughout the year and report on that. It's just how it gets dumped out as growth is assessed. But absolutely, the intent is for significantly enhanced quarterly reports. Karen and her team have already been working on that, and I think we should see our first one. I don't want to overcommit in April, and if not May. And we're excited to have those before you, just to get that entire theme of more touch points for County Council.
Thank you. Any other questions, or comments? Okay, seeing none then, could I have a motion to receive the report, the Middlesex County Economic Development Strategic Plan 2026 to 2030 report be received for information, and that Middlesex County Council adopt the Middlesex County Economic Development Strategic Plan 2026 to 2030. I have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Smiber, seconded by Councillor DeVitt. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the Middlesex County Employment Lands Readiness Program request from the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe, their application. I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to Josh White, our Procurement Services Manager.
Thank you. Through the warden to council, on March 4th, 2026, the county received its first application through the Middlesex County Employment Lands Readiness Program from the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe. As detailed in the report, the requested loan funding will contribute to a number of early stage planning studies, including a site servicing master plan and a secondary plan, including any required official plan amendment to advance the center roads employment lands adjacent to the 402 towards development readiness. County staff reviewed the township's application and have determined that it satisfies both the eligibility criteria and the program requirements, and are therefore recommending approval of the application. If approved by County Council, the township will commence a public competitive procurement process to retain a qualified consultant to undertake the work. The estimated cost of this project provided by the township is $450,000, with an interest-free loan request amount of $200,000 to be paid back to the county over the maximum allowable 5-year period. And with that, staff would be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Josh. Any questions? I think everyone's aware that this is a very new program for the county. It just came into effect earlier on this year, and it came about due to the enormous pressure that's put on smaller municipalities when it comes to development and growth. We don't have the resources at the smaller municipality to see things through to fruition, because you do have to spend money to get things shovel ready. So I think it's going to be a worthwhile program going forward to help out. Last call for questions, comments. Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the Middlesex County Employment Lands Readiness Program Township of Adelaide Metcalfe application report be received for information, and that council approve the loan application from the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe under the Middlesex County Employment Lands Readiness Program for the Center Road Industrial Lands in the amount of $200,000, and that a bylaw be introduced at the April 14th, 2026 council meeting to authorize and approve the loan agreement with the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe and authorize the warden and the county clerk to execute that agreement. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Robb, seconded by Councillor Grantham. All in favor? And that's carried. The next item on our agenda is the Middlesex County Employee and Family Assistance Program. I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to Sandra Schultz, our Director of Human Resources, and Josh White, Procurement Service Manager.
Thank you, Warden, and through you to Council. As outlined in the report, staff feel that there is an opportunity to modernize and enhance the county's Employee and Family Assistance Program, specifically with respect to mental health care services and service level to support the current needs of employees and their families. County staff solicited a proposal from Homewood Health for Employee and Family Assistance Program services. Homewood offers a comprehensive program with innovative options such as a digital health platform and online mental health tools, including a mobile application and online portals. Middlesex London Paramedic Services were also engaged to participate in the process to increase purchasing power and promote alignment across the county and its partners. Homewood Health proposed rates at $3.70 per employee and eligible dependents per month, representing a combined annual savings of $25,150 for the county and MLPS, despite the enhanced services under the new program. The county has also negotiated a piggyback clause with Homewood Health, which would allow the county's local municipalities to take part in the contract at the same rate as the county. Council are being asked to approve the acceptance of the proposal from Homewood Health, and if awarded, the term of the contract will be for a period of 3 years, effective July 1st, 2026. I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Sandra. Any questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. I think I'll save my voice for a little bit and you can read the screen for this motion. You have the motion before you. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor DeVito, seconded by Councillor Burkhart Jessen. All in favor? And that's carried. The last item under this section is the Middlesex County MLPS Waterloo Street renovation Phase 3. And I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to Chris Tranny, our Deputy CAO County Engineer, and Josh White, our Procurement Services Officer.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Warren. I'll keep it fairly brief. I think as council can recall, we had very aggressive pricing from Tradition to complete Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the renovations to the MLPS station at Waterloo Street. And we felt it was a good opportunity for us to engage with Tradition to get a quotation for the sort of the final phase of the renovations, or Phase 3. And you can see the cost of the renovations estimated at about $385,000. Of course, we've engaged Matter Architectural again to do construction administration and design for this phase, another $42,000. But more importantly, you can see that we're quite happy that our original estimates of about $3 million in these renovations, we are $3 million for these renovations and some additional capital improvements over the term of the lease. We're estimated at about $3 million, and we're well below that at this stage. So we're quite pleased with regards to the costing of this coming in well below the initial estimates. I believe likely part of the reasoning for that is the competitiveness, the amount of work in the commercial building market right now is a little quieter than normal. So Tradition, of course, is very happy to be able to be engaged on this with council's approval, of course. You can see its work actually includes the replacement of all the windows on the second floor, a little bit of roof repair, and then an upgrade to the exterior of the building, which has included some renderings of that included with this report. So pending any questions, the recommendations are going to be put up on the screen in front of you, and Josh and I are both here to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions? Councillor Grantham.
Quick one, and this is it, correct? This no more phases. I'm okay with it.
Councillor DeVito, did you have a question, comment? Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, I thought, Chris, this is a really stupid question. I was going through the doc. No, seriously. What is a lump? A lump?
Where is that? Where is this in the document?
Okay, so when you look at the costing page, we're talking about various lumps. It's the dollars and cents in the.
Yeah, they're just talking about lump sum items in the report. Yeah, that's just their abbreviation for lump sum item, I believe.
Just the lingo, just the lingo,
Just
that's
lingo.
all.
I was reading that and going, what don't I get? Okay, thank you. I wasn't thinking in terms of lump sum.
Councillor Rob, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Through the warden. Chris, I think the biggest thing with this phase is it's going to have the most direct impact to the employees, correct? This is the part that will actually see the work. I know we spent a lot of money that didn't really help the employees yet, but this phase here will actually make the big difference, correct?
Yeah, just to remind council, I should have done that as well about the 3 phases. So phase 1 is getting the community paramedicine folks up and running. So that was renovations of the second floor. The bathrooms were built in the 70s, so there was probably 10 times the space for male washrooms than female washrooms. So that's been balanced out, of course. And we had created accessible washrooms and got into some accessibility issues. The second phase is the renovation of the crew space, which is progressing nicely. Not a lot to present to you at this moment, but we'll get some pictures and get you a bit of an update on that for a future meeting. But it is unbelievable the difference, even just with the roughing of some of the works there for the paramedics who are going to be working at this station, and the improvements to the garage space for the ambulances and some of the community paramedicine vehicles are going to be parked. This is really the sort of the cap off. So the outside of the building is in dire need of updates. There is very limited exterior lighting. There was some concerns about security around the building, which we're going to address with some of the work here. And then the second floor, of course, those windows are very drafty. So energy efficiency is one of the things we strive for in this building. We're also going to create just clean up the rest of the second floor. It's not totally being utilized by MLPS at the moment, but at least it will be a point where we're not going to have future leaks or mold or any of these other kind of issues that that tend to happen in spaces that people don't see every day. We're going to have that tied off as part of this phase as well. So yeah, this will really just cap off the entire project. It's nice that Tradition, if they're awarded the contract, they're already on site and they're already making plans to start work on phase 3 while phase 2 is currently progressing. They're there, so they're going to get working on it right away if this gets approved today.
Councillor McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I just want to thank Director Trainee. I mean, amazing project. And if you look at the beforehand on the exterior, and that's what I was scanning earlier on, it really shows the investment that the county, because we are responsible for land ambulance on behalf of the City of London and everybody in Middlesex County, but the investment and the acknowledgement that how necessary it is to have these buildings up to standard. I mean, we're not only in the 21st century, but we're 25% of the way through the 21st century. It's a great looking building. It's going to serve the people of MLPS extremely well, and just great for the care and compassion that we're able to provide to the patients out there that are calling and looking for help. So congratulations to the director and to Chief Bennett in the background here. So really, really good work. We've done a lot of investment at MLPS.
Okay, oh, sorry, Councillor Burkhart Jessen.
That's okay. Thank you, Warden. You stole a lot of what I was going to say, Councillor McGuire, but just to that point, I don't think, like Councillor Grantham, you asked, this is it for phases, but I think it needs to be reinforced how under budget this is coming. And when we started talking about this project, we were looking for other properties to purchase in the downtown area. Well, I mean, first of all, they're unavailable, and we wouldn't have come in with this price tag. So again, just to reinforce what Councillor McGuire said, like really well done, Chris and your team, and then of course Adam and your team, to get this project. And like the outside of it, for anybody that's lived in London for a long period of time, they won't recognize the building when it's done. They'll think it's a new building because it will be quite dramatic.
Yeah, so we have to look after our investments. These are capital assets for us, so it's timely and much overdue. Any further comments or questions? Okay, we'll have a motion up on the screen. You have that before you. Is there a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Ropp, seconded by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up on our agenda is the correspondence and information items. Are there any items between 10D1 and D8 for discussion. Anything you want pulled from there? Right, seeing none, then we have a recommendation that items 10D.1 to 10D.8 be received for information. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Counselor Smibert, seconded by Counselor McGuire. All in favor? And that's carried. We have a recommendation that we rise from the Committee of the Whole at 2:49 PM. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor David, seconded by Counselor McMillan. All in favor? And that's carried. We have a recommendation that we now move into closed session at 2:50 PM. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor McGuire, seconded by Counselor Smibert. All in favor? And that's carried.